Ladies and gentlemen, Blue Death Production proudly presents
Hey, good afternoon, NAFEC family. Captain Perkins here with the Command Triad. It's been about a month since our last town hall, so we're going to kick around a couple of topics that have been floating around, answer some questions we got in advance, and we get various topics on the agenda for today. If you have any questions about anything that we published today, feel free to drop our PAO an email, and we'll get that answered to right out to you, or you can contact your chain of command or your sponsor if there's anything that we touch on that we don't fully answer to your satisfaction. We're going to start with an update on COVID and what's been going on the base. So the team here has been doing a phenomenal job. Really pleased with the individual efforts and the command efforts by each of the department and the tenant commands that are on the base here. But the reality is, as the nation's been grappling with this, and you can see what's going on the news, we're vacillating up and down in different parts of the country. We just haven't got our hands around it as a country yet, nor locally. The numbers in Imperial County have plateaued. They were pretty high, some of the highest in the nation earlier this summer, and they've plateaued. But they've plateaued well above the number that's the threshold that's required for us to transition to the next stage of reopening. So until we get below that threshold consistently, we're going to kind of stay in what's called stage one with some select services decoupled, and that's what the base has been at for quite some time now. So the individual things you have to do, wearing the mask, cleaning your high contact surface, avoiding close contact with other people, staying greater than 6 feet apart as we are whenever you've got your masks off. You have to continue to do those, including the departmental and tenant command daily screening process to make sure that we're not having visitors come in that potentially may be bringing COVID into the workplace. And I reinforce, don't come to work if you feel sick. It's okay. There's no pressure, and we certainly don't want you feeling like you need to come to work and potentially bring that challenge to the rest of your partners at work there. So please remember all those things. That's where we are with the COVID numbers. And although the base continues to do very well and our numbers are significantly lower than out in town, we have seen indicators recently of complacency. And for the first time, we had one positive case and go a little bit lateral inside a work center. It was then contained. We followed all the medical protocols, and those folks are all past all that, and they're back at work now. But it's a reminder to everyone that you can't take your eye off the ball, and you have to continue to do those individual things. It takes willpower, it takes self-discipline, but you can't let up on it, and you're not going to be able to let up for quite some time. So I need your help there. And then services, where we are with services on the base. Since we last spoke, the theater's reopened. So just like everything else, it's reduced services, individually packed up food. So you're not going to bring your own in. You're not going to do any kind of buffet or grab and go type thing. It's going to be individually prepackaged food, that come in the boxes that you can buy from the theater there. And then we're only running about 40 people as opposed to our normal 200 or so in the theater to keep that number down. You sign up through the app, your family can go, your family can sit together. We just ask and we remind folks that don't live in the same household, you can't sit next to each other. The seats are separated for a reason, and please comply with that as you're doing that. And also Take 5, our coffee shop's open, and that's been getting some high demand recently. The one change that's happened within the last couple of days, they're no longer doing curbside takeout. There just wasn't a demand for it. So don't do the call in and have it delivered out to the car. We've kind of turned that part of it off. But you're welcome to come on up, queue up in line, greater than 6 feet apart, wait your turn, order, get your coffee needs. And we've got some tables out front that you can enjoy that nice beverage as we do when we break our coffee after the weekend every Monday. And then the last change to brief on the services is our first responders. So the fire department civilians and the civilians that work in security, those police officers that man posts, are now authorized to use the gym and the pool and some of the other services we've got. I was able to get approval for that. Those folks have been notified, so procedures for doing that are coming out. So that's where we are with COVID and base services. And if you've got any additional questions, remember to watch our Facebook post for what's open, what the times are, and additional information about the services as those things change. And then shoot your chain of command or us any questions you may have on any base services. With that, I'd like to turn over to CMC to kind of talk about some upcoming events we've got to support the families on base. Chief?
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. So we got a couple items coming up. One, biggest one, next weekend or next Friday the 30th, we're going to have a little haunted Halloween celebration here at the base. And one of which, if you've already seen a flyer going around the base or in your email or Facebook page, is our haunted house that NWR is putting together a bunch of volunteers, and it's a drive-through haunted house this year. It opens on the 30th of October in our RV park. We'll be asking that you drive through, and it starts at 7 o'clock and will go all the way through 9 o'clock. And we're asking that the families start at the RV park, follow the signs for directions, and you go through one end of the RV park, get spook and spoiled along the way, and at the other end of it will be a trunk or treat where the base will be handing out some treats for the young ones. So please come dressed up. I believe also there's going to be a contest for Halloween costumes, if I'm not mistaken.
What are you wearing, XO?
To be determined.
To be determined. All right. I'm probably going to go in service just flight suit myself.
I am coming as a mass chief, so yeah, I mean, good times. So that's the haunted house, haunted drive-through portion of it. The other half of it, again, is the trunk or treat. But the best one is going to be at 2000. If I'm not mistaken, this will be the first ever drive-in movie that El Centro, correct me, historian, is that true? Our first ever drive-in movie will be happening here on base. It'll be taking place in the fitness center parking lot at 8 o'clock, right after the haunted drive-through is complete. So 8 o'clock, there will be myself and a few other people out there directing where the cars to park at. But we'll be seeing the movie Hocus Pocus. It's a PG-rated movie from the late 90s, I think, late 1998. Great family-focused movie that's playing all over the place, basically. But if you show up at 8 o'clock, please park early. We'll make sure that you're appropriately spaced so that you can see the car. We do ask that you stay inside your car, though, and turn on your FM radio, because FM 88.1, again, FM 88.1, is going to be the frequency that the stereo or the movie is going to be broadcasting at over in your car radio. And also, if you want to turn your car radio to 88.1 when you're driving through the haunted drive-through, we'll be playing some Halloween music for you as you're driving through. So again, 88.1. What else we got on? So that's Halloween time frame.
Let me ask you a question on Halloween. So are we doing trick-or-treating?
Trick-or-treating is only going to happen, sir, over at the trunk-or-treat area.
Yeah,
not in housing.
In order to keep folks from going from house to house and just to comply with what the county's doing and what the smartest thing to do for COVID, we're not going to do house-to-house trick-or-treating this year. We're providing that in a little bit safer form with the trunk-or-treat option, a little bit more contained, and that's how we're going to do that.
Yep. All right, and then after Halloween, then our next big event that we're going to have is Thanksgiving. And over the last couple of weeks, within the departments on base for active duty sailors, we have an annual turkey giveaway that the Navy League sponsors. And on November 20th, sailors that have signed up for it for their families will be given a free turkey from the Imperial Valley Navy League this year. So we'll be giving that up for families that have signed up for it. We're also going to be soliciting, in a future notice, will be our annual Feed the Troops turkey event, which will be taking place on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So more information and details will be following. We'll solicit that out to the command over email as more details come before that. But just want to let you know those two events are still going to happen this year. Let's see, what else I got, sir? Thanksgiving, we talk about that. Talk about Halloween. Any other holidays coming up, I think?
For those of you who are volunteering to help out with the Halloween presentation, thank you in advance. We did get a good outpouring of support for that. So I think it's going to be a good event. I'm still working with Lincoln Housing on finalizing some details on an idea I have. But I would like to offer that if you live in base housing and you want to decorate your house for potentially some recognition for the most outrageous or best Halloween decorations, we're looking at some ideas on how we can get there with our Lincoln partners. So more to follow in that area as well.
If you haven't also signed up for our NWR, Navy Life Southwest NWR El Centro Facebook group page, if you're a member that lives or resides here on base or works here on base, please go find that group. I will put a link at the bottom of this video, right here at the bottom, that will say where the name of the group page is. That way you can stay up to date with the most information that's separate from our NAF El Centro Facebook page. All right, sir, or XO, over to you.
All right, Commander Jeremy Dowdy, Executive Officer here, and I'm the one who's got to talk about a little bit of business. First of all, I'll offer an apology to everybody who may have gotten an AT Hawk mass notification warning last night while you were trying to get some Z's around 2100, 9 o'clock p.m. We were running an evening drill, a rare evening drill on board NAF Centro, and we had an overzealous command duty officer who was pushing those AT Hawk announcements outside the fence line. So we'll get that under wraps, but the point is we are going to continue to do more drilling as we progress through our CART, Command Assessment of Readiness and Training, which is going to be now recently rescheduled to the 12th through 16th of April. However, prior to that, the first week and a half of February, we're going to have the annual exercise Solid Curtain Citadel Shield, where there will be many more drills happening for that and many more giant voice announcements inside the fence line, and those AT Hawk, both text, phone calls, and emails going out to the base population for both of those events. And in between all of those, probably on at least a month, if not 2-week kind of basis, we will be running drills. You will be getting those notifications. It's a gradable item that we have to do for practice, and obviously if there's a real-time mass casualty on the base, earthquake, other thing we have to notify everybody for, the shelters in place, the active shooter, the lockdowns, etc. We want to know that we can do that quickly, accurately, and get the information out as widely as we can in a good amount of time. So those are going to be happening. Request your patience with that. And anytime you're out and about and you see cones or the sandwich board signs marking off where a drill is happening, please just stay away, let them do their business, and we'll wrap it up as quickly as we can.
Yeah, that's pretty important to give our security folks who keep you safe 24/7, 365. And they do a great job of that. We owe them that opportunity to get ready for their evaluations. And the evaluations are really just making sure that we're ready for the what if. You never know when something unforeseen is going to happen, and we want our security force ready to react appropriately to protect us all if something were to go sideways. So thanks for your support and help with that. We'll do the best we can to notify you in advance without necessarily tipping off our training guys on what's coming. So a little bit of stuff we keep to ourselves in order to maximize the fidelity of training. So please bear with us on that, and just realize it's for a good cause. Speaking of training, the reason that our assessment has been delayed so frequently is because there's a whole lot of requirements and different policies on travel. So, CMC, can you walk us through what the latest changes are for travel policy?
So the latest, sir, is actually a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Still a paperweight drill. So regardless of any kind of official travel, if you're going TAD someplace, going over the hill to Balboa for medical and need to do a DTS travel claim, or you're going TAD to up north to one of the bases up there, regardless, you still need commander approval to be able to go on that travel during our normal COVID posture that we're in. So the process still has not changed. Whatever department you're from, if you need to go on travel, your department head needs to fill out a travel request form and send it to administrative officer or myself. We will get it processed through whatever base you're going to go to get their captain to sign it. It'll come back to us, and then it'll be submitted with your DTS package for travel. The only other one that's still in effect the same way is if you're on PCS orders. The PCS orders will still be required to fill out the same form, except that one will actually go up to Admiral Boulevard for her staff to sign and then sent off to Millington. So regardless, you still need permission if you're going to do any kind of official travel, whether it be TAD, medical reasons, for that kind of stuff. So that process doesn't change. Still, paperwork needs to go to the through your department head to your AO, to the AO or myself, and we'll get it processed. Leave is still based down at the CO's level for approval, based off of where you're going to go. So please make sure all your leave chits are still going up to commanding officer. If you're active duty military, civilians go through your normal department head channels, and each leave chit will be looked at individually upon the return for evaluation on whether or not there be a need to have restriction or movement or not post a leave period. So.
Yeah, and the biggest key with that post-leave restriction of movement is the behavior and what activities you did when you were on leave. So and where you went to and how what the COVID's like in that. So we look at each of those on a case by case situation and make the
Every
right
person's
decision.
case is case by case.
Yep, absolutely. And the doc, the public health emergency officer, and I are very intimately involved with making sure that we're protecting and doing the right thing by each person. And speaking of COVID policies, one minor update to the uniform. So effective immediately, I'm authorizing a black face mask with the NAFEC logo on it to be worn in uniform by military or civilian. And if you're a tenant command who doesn't belong to the NAFEC base, but one of the other tenants, and you choose to do that, I would route that up through your chain of command, get your boss's approval on whether or not they want to do that. But I'm comfortable with this, and I like the way it looks. The team put together a good plan. So where do you get those? Face masks like these are now authorized. Like I said, no variations on color. I want to keep it just to this black version and the one logo. You don't have to purchase them. They're not mandated by any means. But if you desire to do so, there's a couple of local businesses that can help you get set up with a relatively low-cost mask with the right logo. And if you got any questions on what that's supposed to look like, make sure you ask in advance so you got the right one. We don't want to have any challenges with that. But I think it'll be a good job keeping us all looking like good teammates and maybe helping bringing us together with wearing these masks for a while longer yet. Okay, so let's talk about safety for a second. The safety officer and I have been discussing where things are going, and I've noticed some trends that are on the rise in some departments, and it speaks to complacency that we talked about earlier with COVID. And what I'm talking about is slips, trips, and falls. A couple of lost work days for hands that got stuck indoors and things like that. So it's probably a good time to everyone to take a pause, do your time critical ORM whenever you're doing anything, assess the situation. Have I got the right safety equipment in place? Do I have the right protective PPE? Am I doing the right procedures, or am I just winging it? Just kind of keep an eye on it yourself and each other, and just look around and make sure you understand the environment as you're doing things. There's been some challenges on base, and right here we've got 3 different types of vehicle operators. XO's got a motorcycle. I ride my bike for quite a bit on base and off base, and then CMC's got a couple different vehicles. And when you go in and out of the weather, like we saw yesterday, challenges for each of those: blind spots, reflective gear, lights. So if you're a cyclist and you're riding your bike on base, I just expect you to have all the required safety equipment: the helmet, the fore and aft lights, white up front, red in the rear, and everything's in good working order, your brakes and everything. And I expect you to abide by the traffic signals. You come to a stop sign, you stop. And you come to a yield sign, you slow, check for traffic. So you behave like the rest of the vehicles out there. And that kind of goes for the motorcycles too. You want to kind of talk about some of the things folks need to watch for?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Navy and Department of Defense a couple years ago got rid of the reflective vest. You'll see that I still wear mine just because I'd rather be seen. However, we still mandate that you do wear bright, light-colored clothing on that motorcycle as you're coming on and off base, and particularly off base is still mandated whether or not you're coming on or off base. So all required PPE still in effect. Wear that light-colored clothing. Reflective still highly encouraged at night, and then obviously adjust for conditions. Weather's starting to cool off. Motorcycling is going to be a lot more desirable than when we were lacking air conditioning during the heat of the summer. However, if you haven't ridden in a while, take it slow, and always be safe.
And I'll be honest, the road conditions off base are not the best. So there's some roads that are a little bit crumbly, a little bit of gravel, loose dirt, and whatnot. So the surface may not be as grippy as you'd like. That's a word I just made up, I think. Grippy. But yeah. I offer, if you're on a two-wheeled vehicle, exercise caution with the appropriate speed based on the conditions.
And the 4-wheelers, watch out for the 2-wheelers.
Yeah, that's true too. Always, please. How about from the vehicle side of the house? Anything to talk about?
No, just this time of the year, you probably haven't used your wiper blades in a long time, so definitely check on your wiper blades, make sure they're not dried out, make sure you got some good fluid in there, check your batteries, make sure your headlights are working. Just common road safety, check on those tire pressures. The biggest one, though, as we start getting into cooler weather and possibly quote-unquote our rain season, which is a couple times, if it's not pavement, stay off of it. That includes driving, walking, bicycling, if it is not a hard paved surface, whether it be concrete or asphalt, stay off of it. You will get stuck. This clay-based dirt that we have out here is very deceiving. It looks like it's packed until you put 1 foot in it, and now your shoe is going to stay there for the rest of the winter.
And then the XO's got to bring his big truck and pull you out.
So please stay off. For those of you that like to be courageous and sometimes drive the dirt road to go out to Forester or Ayton around the perimeter road or the base, stay off that road the moment you see that it's going to rain, because you will get stuck out there. And there's nothing worse than trying to get Mass Chief's my old Ford Ranger truck to come get you, because guess what? It ain't going to pull you out. And then mine will get stuck too. So yes, so just stay off, especially some of our dirt paths or dirt lots that are over by like RV storage. Please don't go using that to do turnarounds or taking shortcuts. Just stay away from them. All right, save your boots, save your car.
Yeah, and as the weather turns, like you said, it's getting cooler out. Folks are continuing to do outdoor PT, all good stuff with COVID. But as we get later in the year, it gets darker at some of the times that both before work and after work that people are using to jog or to bike. So caution earlier on the lights for your vehicles. But if you're out running, you got to wear something light. I highly recommend something reflective, especially if you're before or after sunrise. That's Navy policy. And then just kind of watch out for yourself in those conditions where you wake up like yesterday where we had some fog. You don't want to be out there running in that where the cars can't see you, and then you put yourself in extremis. So that's kind of the safety things that we've seen pop up recently. And speaking of safety, I want to talk about so aviation squadrons. We always have a thing called the Safety Pro of the Month, which is usually one of our maintainers that is doing a great job, or perhaps prevents a problem from happening by catching something. So one of our police officers, Officer Miguel Perez, prevented a problem by being proactive and getting ahead of it. And I just want to kind of talk through that a little bit. So our security team, I mentioned earlier, the great work they do keeping us all safe. Well, part of that is perimeter checks and that dirt road that Master Chief was just talking about. Multiple times a week, multiple times a day, we're always checking to make sure that the base has got an integral and an intact perimeter. And Officer Perez pointed out some reflective signs near Gate 8 that had been leaned over and potentially too close to the fence. They were potentially offered an opportunity for someone to get into the base by jumping over the fence there. So identified that safety issue. We got that corrected, and that's a case of somebody with their eyes out, looking for a way to make things better, looking for what's not right, and not accepting something that's out of standards. So very well done, Officer Miguel Perez, and thanks to our entire security team for what they do every day. And last thing on my list is pre-deployment sequestration or pre-deployment preparations for some of our squadrons. So periodically, we're going to have units that come in to train here like we've got now, but they may not be going back home. They may be going straight to USS Ship and straight on deployment to do the nation's business downrange. So you may see some of those folks, you may see some extra signs go up, and you may see some extra policies get enacted to stay away from those folks. And the reason is that they're trying to create that bubble of a COVID-free environment and have no contact with anybody for that period of time before they embark the ship. So we need to help preserve that bubble, keep it clean. We take great pains to minimize or eliminate contact between that squadron and anybody else, so that they don't potentially bring COVID out to the ship and make the problem worse once you get out there. So if you see signs like that, or if you've got a strange policy that we've put up, or some new fencing that says please stay out or stay away from these barbecue pits that you've been using for the last 2 weeks, that's why we're trying to keep those folks safe and clean and ready to go on deployment from an operational imperative. So thanks for your support there.
The reminder, sir, also that with the signage and the extra snow fencing, when we send the word out and reminding everybody that there also may be a few times where shopping at the exchange or commissary might be delegated just for that personnel only. It won't be long periods of time, but it'll only be certain days of the week for like an hour during shopping periods. But we will promulgate that information well in advance and people will be there to let them know.
That's a
who's
great
who.
point, and I think we're going to do the same thing with the gym as well. That
Yeah.
we're going to block off certain times a day where those units can use the gym where nobody else is in there to keep that.
And
that
again,
bubble
folks, it's to protect them as well as protecting us, so that they
Yeah.
stay in their own little cocoon, if you will.
clean. Yeah, exactly
So.
right. Okay, so that's what we had on the agenda. Any follow-up comments?
If you have any questions or comments, please don't forget you can leave them on this Facebook video or nafecpao@gmail.com. Again, nafecpao.gmail.com. And don't forget, 88.1 on your FM dial this Friday, the 30th of October.
Thanks everyone for what you're doing, and appreciate what you're working for. Thanks.